Hello, welcome to STH English. Vladimir Putin in Narendra Modi's land, a summit to watch. This is indeed a very significant development and it has implications. Many thinkers and writers think that the implications are more symbolic rather than substantive, but even symbolic implications are pretty huge. Let's start with Vladimir Putin. He walks into India essentially as a pariah in Europe. He walks into India as somebody who has a pipeline through to the White House, but the pipeline is kind of clogged because of Ukraine. Trump wants an easy to sell, easy to market, easy to propagate kind of a deal with Putin on his own terms. Putin essentially wants to lengthen the argument around Ukraine, does not want to concede an inch. He has not gone so far into Ukraine, has not sacrificed so much, has not paid so much of a cost just to get Mr. Trump to say another line about his 9th or 10th war that he has stopped. So Putin is going to get into a long, intractable negotiation with Trump, and Trump would get exhausted pretty soon. At any rate, he's dozing off in the meetings these days, so his patience is running thin, and his sleep disorders are now pretty much out in the open. On a side, this is the guy who used to talk about Biden as Sleepy Biden or Sleepy Joe. But, as they say, never say things that are likely to come back to haunt you. But that's on a side. So Trump is running low on patience. Putin has the patience of mountains, and he's going to stick to his guns. So he's a man who's pretty much ostracized in the West. Now, this is a big thing for Russians. You need to understand Russian history. Russia, though spans two continents, Europe and Asia, has always styled itself as a European power. So when you get isolated in Europe, when you get beaten black and blue by countries that always thought that they could have a deal with you or do business with you, I'm referring to the article written by the representatives of French, UK and Germany. Together, the article spoke about what Russia has done in Ukraine. You know that the alliance against you is very strong. And that's a big setback for a country that claims to be a European influencer and associate itself more with the West than with the East, is now forced to really look towards East. So Putin is a man who's trying to end his global isolation or dilute his global isolation in Europe by engaging with India. And India is a massive market for Russian goods. Needless to say, Russia is making tons and tons of money by selling discounted oil to India. And I'll come to that later on when I talk about where Modi stands vis-a-vis Vladimir Putin. And he essentially wants to say that you isolate me in Europe, I'm going to create another pivot in Asia. And if you were to go back to this picture where Beijing, Moscow and Delhi and their representatives are standing there and smiling, that tells you where Putin's emphasis right now lies. But this really is a incomplete kind of a resurgence, because unless and until he does something about European isolation and Western isolation, he's not going to be considered a successful Russian president. Now come to Modi. Modi obviously is somebody who is in a graver position as compared to Putin. Not because the Indians are facing the kind of scenario that Putin is, but at a lesser degree, they're also feeling the heat of the Ukrainian war. One, the lure of money, discounted oil. I think it was nearly 3% of oil that they used to buy from Russia before Ukraine war started. And then Ukraine war started, and Russia went under sanctions, discounted the oil prices, and now the reliance has jumped to nearly 35%. The Indians thought that, this is liquid gold. Let's dive deep into it, make billions and trillions of Indian rupees worth of profits, and also, fuel your economy. But that really angered the Americans. So if Donald Trump has repeatedly talked about the ultimate Indian humiliation in war against Pakistan, and the ultimate symbol of that humiliation, the downing of Rafale, more than 4 dozen times. That has got less to do with his love for air warfare and its competencies and its excellence shown by Pakistan Air Force, and more to do with the fact that he wants to rub in the point that you do engage with the Russians, and I'm going to come down very heavily on you, because you should really not be doing this and instead engaging with us, buying our products, doing trade with us. Remember, the trade fiasco that Modi had to witness with regard to Trump had got everything to do with supposedly the Indian desire to buy cheap Russian oil. So that's number one. So Modi is facing not just a brunt from the Americans, the brunt is also coming from the Europeans as well, who detest the Ukrainian war, who detest Putin's ways of handling it. Now, when India is siding with the pariah of Europe, Modi doesn't look good. So in a way, it's a difficult balancing act. Remember, at the same time as he engages with Putin, and the trade between the two countries offers mouth-watering prospects, nearly $68 billion plus, he also needs to have one or probably 1.5 eye on the trade talks with Americans, where the trade levels are twice the size of the trade with Russia. So you do not want to get too close to Putin at the cost of losing your trade deal with the Americans. The other thing is that you have a difficult balancing act to perform. You want to play to the Western gallery. Your entire investment has been in the American lobbying system. You have expanded your purview of lobbying and influence in the European capitals. You do not want to be seen to be permanently siding with a country like Russia, run by somebody like Putin, who's very smart, very shrewd, represents the Russian interests like nobody else has done in recent memory, but at the same time is not really global mainstream. So there's a limit to which you can go close to Russia, and if you go beyond that limit, the cost is going to grow really heavy. So he has to engage with Putin, but at the same time keep a friendly distance from him. Now, how do you balance that out? That's going to be a big one. The other thing is that you want to now somehow decrease your reliance on Russian oil and Russian defense equipment as well. But at the same time, you really need this oil and you really need this defense equipment. Nearly 70% of the 29 air squadrons that India has rely on Russian jets. They are also very interested in finding the and buying the new fifth generation aircraft from the Russians, and the S-400 air defense system that they talked about much in their war against Pakistan. They now want that to be upgraded to S-500. So there's a lot of reliance that India has on Russia, but at the same time, they have been trying to diversify their sources of acquisition. And as a result, from the days of yore, their reliance was nearly 72 to 75%, which has in 2025, if I read it correctly and recall it correctly, is something like 35%. So you want to diversify, but yet you don't really have many options, and you have to quickly replenish your rather questionable air defense capability. So Modi has his task cut out for him. He needs to do mutually contradictory things, rely less on Russia, diversify, at the same time go running to Russia for oil and immediate defense equipment, get close to Russia, but not at the cost of ties with Washington, get close to Putin, not at the cost of ties to Europe, and while stand there and embrace Putin with great warmth and offer the super red carpet to him, and still not be bracketed with a country whose model of handling global affairs are not really picture perfect. So difficult balancing act. A lot of agreements will be inked. There will be a lot of frill and thrill and media hype because this is Modi's big moment. He has been sitting on the sidelines of big-ticket global developments, has been completely isolated from, say, the issue that dominates all global headlines, that is the Middle East, was isolated again when the Iran and America plus Israel war started, was caught in its own crosshair of contradictions when people wanted Modi to take a clear stance on isolating Russia. So whether it is Russia or Iran or Israel or Gaza, Modi has been watching developments from the sidelines, and on top of it, the loss of war to Pakistan has been really a big irritation in his side. So now it's time for him to explode on the global stage, hug Putin tightly, and tell the world that he represents an India who's not isolated at all. But really, hugging Putin tightly could be a double-edged sword. How does he manage this is a task for him to perform, but you will see lots of big pictures and big smiles and big claims coming out of this summit.